I just thought it was funny.
It is funny. Holy God.
I didn't think John blocked anybody. Anyway.
No, I don't. That's the funny thing. That's crazy. All right. So I'm sorry about that. We got everything rolling now.
You don't have anybody else blocked. I gotta make sure we can get everybody else.
Yeah. Wow.
Hey, we got Steven with us tonight. Cool.
Nice.
Hey, Steve, how are you?
Good. Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good.
Going good. Good to see you.
Yeah. It's been a while.
So, we're recording, are we? Looks like it.
Yeah, so just whenever you want to give the entrance, it's a little bit past 10:04, but there we are. Rapid Fire Auto has joined. My man Jay.
Gentlemen.
Uh-oh. Jay's quiet.
Yeah, Jay is a little quiet.
Hang on, you don't hear me?
Getting better.
Yeah, little more volume.
More volume? Hang on.
Hey, Jay.
All right. Well, while we are waiting for Jay to get his volume pumped up there, and let me make sure that we got the guys from Dealer Elite in here. Make sure that Mike got a.
Touch.
There we go.
It was working.
All right. Let's get started. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Auto Dealer Target Round Table, where tonight our featured guest is Mike Stenger, and he is a social media expert. A lot of people seem to think that, so that's why he's on the show with us tonight. Mike is, John is to the far left, Mike is to his, well, right, and then Jay Chang with Rapid Fire has joined us again tonight. And then we've got Steven Tartaglia. Did I pronounce that right, Steve?
You don't pronounce the G, so it's Tartaglia.
Tartaglia. See, I knew I'd messed something up.
It's okay. But, everyone does it. I've had that my whole life. It doesn't matter anymore. Don't worry about
okay. We're going to call him Tartaglia on here. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Mike, if you want to give us a little bit of information about yourself before I start bombarding you with questions, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm a social media specialist. I do social media consulting and social media management, and I'm just really passionate about the space, and I love the space, and I'm glad to be on the show.
Cool. Well, to get started off right here, what do you think? What are the keys to making social media work for anybody, whether it be a dealership or just a brick and mortar, mom and pop store?
Well, I think one of the first things is you really have to have a plan and strategy in place. If you don't know what you're doing or what you need to do, social media just isn't going to work out. So you got to know what you want to do and what you need to do, and a strategy to put that all into place. Also, really don't focus on just pushing content out there, pushing, selling, things like, don't over push or oversell, things like that. You want to interact and you want to engage with people, and I think those are some of the keys. There's a bunch of other things, but I mean, it would take a while for us just to get into all that stuff.
Sure. So when you talk about interacting, or are we talking about, just took my dog to the groomers and wow, does he look good, that kind of thing? Or are we talk more of on a personal level, or do you mix personal with business? Or because
Yeah, I think it's good to mix personal and business. Of course, you don't want to get too personal, like I just went to the bathroom. What are you doing, or stuff like that. Personal and business is good. You don't want to, of course, be too personal. But also another key, of course, that's pretty obvious for making social media work is you want to put out value. And you want to put out good content, something of value to people. Otherwise, they're really not going to get attached to your message, and they're really not going to want to, follow you, like you, etc.
So, could you give us any examples of what would be, good, valuable content? Like where do people need to kind of focus? What would you consider good content? If there's any examples you can throw out there.
Well, I mean, for an auto dealership, a friend of mine who owns a local dealership, they do a really good job. They have a Ford blog, and they post on a daily basis just articles and information pertaining to vehicles and cars, and it's of good value, and people read it, and they read that, they get value from it, and then from there, depending on where they are, as far as, I mean, everyone it needs a car, so at some point down the line they could remember, oh hey, I read this really good article, or I know this car company, they posted some really good stuff, and I like to check out their stuff, so let me go ahead and check out their dealership, and could translate to a sale.
So you post stuff that's memorable.
Yeah, and post something memorable and valuable to them.
So are your, I guess, for lack of a better word, tactics going to be different for different social media sites? Like, is it going to be different from Twitter than it is to Facebook or for a blog?
Like Twitter. Twitter is a different beast from Facebook. Twitter is really real time. I mean, Facebook, in some aspects, but Twitter's real time, so you kind of want to assess what you want to do there. But Facebook tends to be more there is interaction on Facebook, but for me, it's always been to be more of putting content out there. And not nearly as much as interaction as whereas Twitter, there's just a ton of interaction if you focus on that.
So I've never been a big what would be the Twitter or tweeter or however they do that. But I think I've only had like maybe 140 tweets or something like that in all the time that I've been doing. So I don't do it a whole lot. John, on the other hand, he's probably done it quite a bit more than me. But so Twitter's something that you're, it's more like in the now, like what's going on right this minute, versus Facebook. You can tell more of a story. I guess Facebook's more like a blog type of deal.
Yeah, it's a lot more. I mean, Twitter has that 140 character limit, which a lot of people really hate. They just really don't like it. But Twitter for me is more like in some aspects, it's more like an instant messaging conversation, whereas Facebook is more like an email.
Right. So how would you tell somebody to, or how would they go about? What's the best way to go about getting yourself noticed out there in the social media world? A lot of people, there's a lot of stories about people, get on Twitter and, they get 10,000 followers in a week or something like that. Is that possible? How does stuff like that get done? What's the, are the people following you the people that you want to be following you, or, how does the relationship work there?
Yeah, like I said, it all comes back to good strategy and plan, which, that can be complicated. But, to be memorable and for people to actually want to follow you or like you, you have to be putting out some sort of value. Like if you're not putting out any value that's value to your, of course you want to know what your target audience is, but if you're not putting out any value to them at all whatsoever, then they're not going to be interested. And it also helps too to really know your brand and actually have a consistent image across all your profiles.
Right. So knowing your brand, I can appreciate that, especially being in the auto industry. Would you say to associate your brand with yourself and all your social media?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it depends.
Should there be a personal? Should there be a personal and then also a business side, or do you think that you should just combine them both, or can each of them play a part?
Well, I mean, if you have a physical business, you definitely want to have your own social media profiles for that. However, if you're say the owner of a business, I think it's also good to have personal profiles too, because people want to talk with humans. So you may see that people tend to want to communicate with you more than they do, say, your business. But the one issue though with having personal profiles and promoting a business or something like that with those personal profiles is, sorry, my dog keeps growling, won't shut up. But one of the issues with that is that, and I completely lost my train of thought.
Personal profiles and business profiles.
The disadvantages of it?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, the disadvantages of it you were talking about.
Yeah, there's, like a good friend of mine, his shut up. His brand is I'm sorry, can we move on to another question? This dog, it keeps oh jeez. This is a disaster.
No worries. Believe it or not, yeah, it's live, but John edits this stuff down for us, so he'll make you look real good. No worries there. And a lot of us have dogs. So I've got one that's sitting under my desk right now. He just doesn't happen to be growling. So it's all good.
Yeah.
So if you were to, and I really don't want to, I'll skip over that one, but we'll come back to it. What about social analytics? What do you think? Where can people find out? Are there ways to track your social analytics? I know that Google Analytics, I love it. It's great, but I really don't know much about being able to track social stuff.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big things is custom URL shorteners like bit.ly, bit.ly. You can track clicks, and you can also see where those clicks came from, whether it was from you posting it on Facebook, on Twitter, and also with like Google Analytics, there are ways for you to add, I guess you would call them tags or however they name them, but you can add specific tags, like you could add like a Twitter tag or like a Facebook tag to a link, and then you could share that, and then if you go into your Google Analytics under that specific tag or whatever it is, whether it's Twitter or Facebook, you can see who landed through that link and get data from them.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, I'll have to dig into that for sure. That's something that I want to figure out myself. So before I hit him with more questions, does anybody else have any questions? No? John doesn't have a question?
I'm in learning
No,
mode.
Chase got a question.
You guys hear me okay?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a best practice on social media for things like politics or opinions on things like that?
I don't know. I don't know if there's a best practice or not. I mean, I've always heard the saying that there's two things you don't want to talk about, and those are politics and religion. And whenever you get into those two topics, it tends to get a little bit crazy. So I don't really know if there's a best practice, because I mean, for me personally, those are just two things I try not to touch because I know there's a lot of things that come with that.
It seems to be very polarizing, it's fun if you watch and follow some of the posts out there. It creates this polarization of people at one time are very close, all of a sudden they don't even talk to each other anymore.
Yeah.
So back to the business and personal, as far as like Twitter accounts or the identities on Facebook or whatever. You say it's okay to have one for personal and one for business, or would it be? Are there any advantages to having one over the other, or do you need them both?
I wouldn't say you have to have both, but I think it is good to have a personal as well as one for your business. But the point I was trying to get into about having personal profiles is there's sometimes businesses have people that will represent them and put their image on a personal profile, but they're acting as that business. And the downside with that is if that person, you know, leaves the company or something, and there's people that were attached to that person, and they knew that person as, you know, Bob of XYZ company, then, you know, that could be a big downside.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Comcast, but they had their Comcast Cares Twitter account, and there was a guy that was behind that for a long time. Then, you know, that guy ended up moving on, and so there were some issues with that.
Yeah, I could definitely see where there could be problems there.
Yeah, can I say something?
Sure.
Yeah, my name is Manuel Luna, and I'm with the BL Automotive Marketing, and I do know a lot of stuff to help dealers out. Just to let you know who I am. But going back to the employee, you know, having one designated person that's going to handle your social media, and that's. I was talking to someone today, and I said that the salespeople are not even allowed to do videos. And if they wanted to do a video, then they wanted to send it out, you know, for their own selves to do self-promotion for the dealership, which is actually a good idea. It's they're not allowed to do that, and the reason why, if the salesperson leaves the store, then they're going to have their name out there with that dealership, and it's still, even though, and what's going to happen is that video will optimize and it'll be found online, but they want to keep business in the store. They don't want the salesperson to leave and all of a sudden still pick up leads or take any away from the dealership after they do leave. So that's a big deal as far as I'm seeing a lot of rules out there that dealerships are putting together in order for social sites and even videos, what I found out today.
Yeah, it's a real gray area because, I mean, you got to think that at some point, you know, people will potentially move on. So yeah, it's a real gray area.
Yeah, it's going to happen. Yeah, people are going to move on, especially in the auto industry. We don't have much turnover there.
Right.
So yeah, people definitely move on. So how would you combat something like that? I mean, you don't want to put. I don't think you want to put a leash on all these people and say, hey, you know, don't be social.
Right. I mean. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the dealership shouldn't post everything either. I mean, as far as people having social media accounts and not acting as their company under a personal account, I think that's fine. But I mean, I don't think there really is any definitive answer as far as, you know, an employee having a personal profile and acting as the business. I don't think there's any definitive answer to how to combat that if they move on, because it is what it is. Well, I mean, all the profiles pretty much, for the exception of Twitter, you know, they ask you right there, you know, where do you work? And I mean, you plug it in, you know, and it's usually sitting right there somewhere, pretty prevalent on your profile, you know, showing exactly, you know, who you work for, and it usually link out and get you to other people, you know, like, you know, LinkedIn, you know, a lot of times companies, you know, will put everybody into a group. So, what do you think? Have you done much with LinkedIn? How do you see LinkedIn, or what part does LinkedIn play versus Facebook and Twitter?
Yeah, I honestly don't use LinkedIn that much at all. I maybe spend 20 minutes a week on LinkedIn. I mean, I personally just use Twitter and Facebook, and I've been using Google Plus a lot more. But I mean, LinkedIn is very important as far as, I mean, I think if you're finding a job, or if you're in the job market, you know, and you're not self-employed, or run your own business, I think LinkedIn's a great way to connect with other businesses, other people, and really nurture those relationships that lead to jobs.
Yeah, LinkedIn's worked out great for me. I forget who, somebody invited me many years ago, and I really didn't think much of it, but I get leads from LinkedIn, I mean, probably 8 to 10 a week, which is great. You know, it's awesome for me. But, you know, I found out that any type of social media that I've gotten involved with and been somewhat active, you know, Google Plus, for example, I mean, it almost immediately generated business. I mean, it was just, I mean, even with, you know, only having 20 or 30 people in my circles, I was already generating some type of a buzz, you know, using Google's words there, but, you know, some type of a buzz there that was getting people to contact me. So I think social media is absolutely awesome. What do you think about the niche social media sites like the communities? Do you feel that they play we had the guys on from Dealer, I don't know if you've heard of DealerElite.net, but we had the guys on from there, was it last week? 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks, yeah. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. And, you know, they've got a really nice little social community for dealers and vendors and trainers and so forth. And, you know, probably about 6,000 members. I mean, obviously it's not a Facebook. You know, it's probably not even a fan page on Facebook. But the community is pretty tight-knit group there. What's your thoughts on being social, you know, with those?
Yeah, I think there's definitely good use for them. I mean, the main issue is just is mostly going to be getting people on them and getting them to keep using them. You know, just like we're seeing here right now with Google Plus, the trick is, yeah, they can get people on here, but can they keep people using them? So that's really the main concern there, is getting people to first use it, sign up, and keep using it. But it's also a way to deliver, you know, targeted information to those people. Whereas, you know, if you have a Facebook page, there's a good chance that they might see your content less there because there's so much noise. Whereas, you know, a much more niche, you know, community, like what you're talking about, where there's not as many people. So if they use that, then, you know, the message or whatever the people post isn't going to get nearly as lost as on Facebook, where you have just a ton of stuff going on at once.
How often do you think, obviously I think that people can overpost. How often, what's a good rule of thumb for a business as far as posting goes?
See, that's a really tough one, because I don't think there's really a set number. But I mean, you know,
do you think there's overposting?
Yeah, I think there can be overposting, but it all really depends. And two, it depends on your audience. There's some people that will get upset if you post, you know, just a few times an hour, and there's some people that, you know, will get upset if you post less than that. I mean, it just all really depends. But like, you don't want to be posting stuff constantly like that. Like, there's definitely an issue with overposting on Twitter. There's people that just post just every few minutes. Like, I wonder how they get any work done. But I don't think there's a set limit of how much to post. It all really just depends on your audience and what people are saying.
Right. So it's more about the content that you're posting, you know.
Right.
Any questions from anybody else out there? John, is your mic working now?
How are we doing for feedback now? Does it sound any...
Yeah, you're sounding good.
Okay, good. Hey, Michael, so are there some companies that contract you to work for them, or what exactly is it that... I know you consult people. Is there like a set group of folks that you work with, or is there you have a favorite?
Yeah, there's not really a set group per se. I mean, 80% of what I do is consulting. However, I do a little bit of social media social media management. Like just recently, I started working with a nutritional supplement company. And I tend to work with smaller business. I mean, I would like to work with these large companies, but I don't think I'm necessarily at that stage.
And then the other question, and the burning question for a lot of folks that I've met in social media, is, you know, there's no university of social media. So where do you go, you know, to get the background and get the framework in place to get the results that you're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really good people out there who teach this stuff, and I recommend just finding people that you look at their content. You know, I wouldn't say just immediately buy from them. You know, first get familiar with what they have to post, what they have to say, and you know, if you enjoy what they have to say, if they're giving you good value, and there's a trust there, then definitely buy from them. You know, the thing I have there are some of these social media certification programs which I personally think are just BS. I mean, you can't really become certified in social media because they're forgetting the fact that yes, you need the knowledge to succeed, but there's also a thing called experience. And if you don't have the experience, then the knowledge isn't going to be applied as well.
Right, you should be buying if you're going to be trying to learn social media from somebody. I think that it's probably a good idea to learn from somebody that's actually practicing social media, and not from somebody that just says they can do the social media for you. I know that my friend Jim Ziegler, you know, would say, you know, there's a lot of people out there that you know, write all these books, and they write books about how to do this and how to do that and how to do this so much better, but they've never even done it themselves. You know, they're just good book writers. So it definitely makes sense to you wouldn't want to go you know, have surgery from somebody that just read about it. You want to get if you're going to get operated on, you want to make sure that they've done it a few times themselves and are pretty darn good at it. So
yeah.
Well, is there any pointers that you could give car dealers? Anything? I know that you say that you've got some friends in the industry before we actually came on the air.
I don't want to be too blunt about it, but I mean, I keep seeing car dealers just sell, and that's all they do, and they're just not putting out anything that's really of value to people besides these commercials and trying to sell. And I would you know, recommend, you know, interacting with people, you know, actually starting a relationship instead of just first trying to sell. And, you know, look into the online world. I mean, there's great ways of delivering good, valuable content to people. You know, it is so easy to get started with a blog nowadays and, you know, get a Facebook and a Twitter account.
Well, absolutely. And we just started up a new service for dealers ourselves where we're going to be doing their e-newsletters. And, you know, there's three. When we were talking about setting this up, we were looking at all the other, you know, newsletters that had come through, and you know, I get to see a lot of content. And the content that I was seeing just wasn't quality stuff. I mean, they had cake recipes and, you know, all kinds of stuff that did not pertain to the auto industry. I mean, if I'm asking to receive a newsletter from somebody and sign up for it on motorcycles, and I get something on, you know, how to carve a pumpkin, or, you know, this is, I mean, that's not of interest to me. I want the newsletter to be about motorcycles. So we think that there's three things that a dealership should be keen on when it comes to newsletters, and the same could probably go for the social media side of things, and that would be the dealership, the brand, and the region. Because the people that are receiving those, newsletters, or even, like I said, I think it would work with social media as well, they're going to be interested in stuff that's happening, in their backyard, right there in their region. Somebody in California doesn't want to know what's going on in Kentucky. They think we're backwards hillbillies anyway, which, yeah, we are. But still, they don't want to know about it. Somebody in California wants to, see something about, surfing or whatever. But does that make sense to you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm in internet sales, car dealership, and I think if you are going to be using like Facebook or something like that, you just want to keep like a good connection with them. You don't want to sell them at all, because that's going to detour from them. The sales are actually going to come if you can get them to the dealership. You're most likely you're trying to sell an appointment. You're trying to sell to get them in. You don't necessarily want to like concentrate on a car or anything like that, because that could turn people off. Because it's like you don't want to sell a car over the phone. You just kind of want to get them in, so then that way the process starts. And I think that's part of what some dealerships are having problems with.
So what would be the? What do you guys think as a group? And we'll start with John. What do you think? What are some ideas you would have for posting content that's not selling?
Yeah, absolutely. I think
so. You've got 3 stores that you're the internet director for, so you could probably.
Absolutely. To me, it's a big importance about developing an entity and an identity for those stores. I'm over a Honda store, an Infiniti store, and an Acura store. So those are 3 very different conversations that I'm having with those clients. Honda is very generalized. You have a lot of moms in that, so the focus that I have there is a little more kid-friendly, a little more family-friendly. So you got some Odyssey van stuff. I got some stuff that's pertinent to, playgrounds or something. It's just when I look at that, I think about what a buyer would be interested in seeing, but it's a completely different audience when I look at Infiniti. Infiniti is the young executive male, very technical minded. So I'm looking for maybe a little edgy, maybe a little sexy woman picture here and there. For that, but it's all about keeping them engaged and doing it in such a way that you're not going to offend anybody. So that's the other thing. Some of the guys that are looking at these Infinitis may want to see a lot of skin, but I got to make sure that it's enough to keep them interested, but not turn off, the female audience. Same thing with Acura. Again, they all have their very specific identity. So that's what I'm doing, and I think that the people who would look at those stores in social media want to know what the dealership people are thinking. And so as many times as I can, I plug in the faces of the dealership and I try to humanize the dealership and try to make a connection in some way. Because that's what people are looking for. If they want to see your sales paper, they can go to your website and see your sales paper, or they can go to the newspaper and see your sales paper. If someone's tracking a dealership down on the social media, they want to get to know the people. And it's not often you get people who want to know about people at dealerships, so it's a great opportunity to really give them what they want, which is just a little peek inside of what goes on behind the scenes at a dealership and become human with you. That's it.
You said it better than me.
People sell cars, so people buy cars from people. That's your first link, to the dealership. So.
Yep. And I'm gonna mute my mic now in case the feedback monster comes back. It's Manny's turn.
Okay. Hey Manny.
Yes, sir.
What kind of content do you think should be out there? What should dealers be posting for social content that's not sales?
Cookies. I was joking when I said cookies. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with you on brand. I think brand and consumers are out there, and the brand, whether it be Toyota or Honda or Infiniti, they're doing a pretty good job out there keeping the brand and doing the advertising. So going back to brand, I would say number one. Number two is another thing that's important, I feel, is the reputation of the store. The reputation of, and not really just telling them, advertising maybe the reason why, but let them make that decision that, hey, that's the reason why I want this newsletter every month. Whatever message that you have to show the reputation in the store of what they're doing. Again, I'm going to tie in back to what you said in regional, meaning what are they doing out there in the community that's really more important than selling it. More important than, because anybody can replace a car. We all know that. They're all just iron, steel, and rubber. But what is the dealership really doing out there in the community that's going to make a difference? That's when the market is down or they're not selling that many cars, you already have this message out in the community that this is the place to do business because of what they're doing in the community. Whether it be helping somebody out, maybe a mom and two children where their dad just passed away in service in the community, or whether it be their father just had an accident, didn't have insurance, and they needed their lights turned on. Stories sell. I believe that stories sell, and if you're out there and you're doing the little extra things out there in the community as a dealership, you're never going to have a problem selling cars. So number one is brand, going back to brand. Number two, the reason why they want to do business with you. So what are you doing out there in the community? And then another thing I was also thinking about is, people can disagree and not and agree and stuff like that. But every now and then you might, even though I get e-newsletters all the time from Nissan, and they're always selling. But I think a little something out there maybe that might work. Whether it be carving a pumpkin, something that has to do with what's going on in the season. Does it have to be something like that? Something that's going to be seasonal, that they're going to say, hey, this is the season. And number one, brand. Number two, reason. And then something that's going to follow up to, hey, you know what? It's that time of the season where they can relate to reading it. Say, hey, whatever that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would agree with you there 100%. We actually hit on that in our newsletters, because every season has, something different, for the customers, especially, your winter, you've got your winterization, in the summer you've got all your vacations and stuff like that, and then you've got the little maintenance stuff that comes in between there. So,
but that's my 2 cents on that. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much. What about you, Stephen? I know you haven't been doing this for very long, but I'm sure it only takes a few days to figure out what it takes to get things. The auto industry is a pretty fast-paced world in a dealership, especially on the internet side of things. So, do you have anything that you can add about posting content that's not sales related?
Pretty much that. You guys pretty much said it. I mean, I don't know if you heard what I said before, but I think it's just all about keeping that connection and then worrying about the other stuff if you can get them in. That's the way I see on that.
Do you have anything to add, Jay? I know that you've got a little bit of auto experience. So.
I've got a bit of audio experience. I guess trying to add on to what hasn't been said. One of the challenges I feel with the internet sales is that the customer wants information like price, and you have to try to gather that information and give it to them in a way to continue with an engagement that's not touching price. So you can create that dialogue with other things just to offer them differentiators for your dealership to make you different than the competition. I think the consumer today are looking to disqualify a dealer before qualify a dealer. Mm-hmm. So if a customer is looking for shopping 5 dealerships or 3 or 10, whatever it may be, they're going to ask the same questions to all 3, 4, 5, 10, whatever it is. The ones that come back with a sincere reply will probably have the advantage. Quite often, the people in the internet departments who are previous salespeople or non-high producing floor salespeople, they want to keep on staff. You go do internet and get some people in here. And then they always resort back to what they do on the sales floor on the computer rather than really trying to engage the customer in a special way and offering differentiators of such. Obviously, videos are huge. I think every dealership should have a video. I mentioned this in a post on one of the communities in the past. I feel that for those not in the car business or haven't been there long enough, we all used to have evidence manuals that every salesman had talking about their accomplishments and happy customers. Those things are a time of the past. When do you go to a dealership now? Ask them, where's your evidence manual? It'll be like, going, what the heck is that? You know? I had a conversation with some people on a community about 4 or 5 months ago, maybe creating a electronic evidence manual where they can have a little picture frame showing pictures of all their customers that bought cars and posting that with a link, or having a rotating picture with a little SD card in the desk. So when the customer is sitting there waiting, they see pictures of all happy customers.
That's a great idea.
I mean, I call it the electronic evidence manual. So you can have pictures of awards. You can even put, on an SD card, obviously you can put moving images and video on there if you like. So you can carry your own little video book that you can go buy for $59 and put a 10 gig SD card into and play all day long. You can swap SD cards out all you want. So there's so much technology out there. Engaging people, I think, is so difficult. You gotta find that the common ground somewhere, no matter what you do. And I go to dealerships every day and just to say hi to people, and I meet so many salespeople won't even acknowledge your presence. They have no idea who you are. You can be a customer, don't even say hi to you. It's the same thing on the internet. People are inquiring on the internet about something, and they don't get a reply back for 4 days. I mean, be serious. It doesn't work, So
you have to. Oh, I'm sorry. Right.
Well, go ahead, Steve. You can say something. You can say something.
Yeah, about you saying that the people are replying in 4 hours. I mean, we have to reply within an hour or less, and then.
Well, that's obviously that's what your goal is. But let's be honest, not every dealership does that. I bet you that's more few than more. Yeah. That's for sure. But the customers want to be treated special, but at the same time, there are customers who have to be wanting to engage with a dealership to create that engagement, because there's so many that just will give you, the time of day, and then all of a sudden they're gone. You can't find them anymore. So that's a huge challenge. That's my 3 cents.
All right, good deal. Well, Mike, do you have anything to add on top of what these guys have said?
I think they actually said it pretty well. I really do. I don't think I could add anything better than what they said, actually.
Cool. Well, that's good. That means we've got an educated group of guys in here, at least guys that have some street smarts when it comes to the social media side of things. So,
your turn.
Oh no, I'm just the host. Yeah. I think there's lots of content there is lots of content that you can post out there that's
one thing,
not sales related.
Yeah, if I could say something. And then one thing I think that a really good thing to do is to take these ideas and not stick with that one idea. Test it. Beta test it, and that way you're going to see. We just talked about a way to track your analytics through social media, and of course, Tom, ways to track your e-newsletters that you're coming out with. So the most important thing is to test it. Beta test it, and then after you have a winner right here, you have a winner, that you're going to be using. Now challenge yourself to make another one, that's going to beat that one. So, and that you're going to get extremely well results, But the whole key to being successful, and I think even social media, is to test it. And when you test it and then and it works, then you keep doing what's working, but at the same time challenge yourself to better it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. When I post content myself, I try to post. I never try to promote Auto Dealer Target, and until maybe at the end, I tell people who I am and what we do. I think that you would be wrong not to do that because you can help people. I mean, if you can actually help people and pay it forward without expecting anything in return, always do that. But the content I try to post is something that people can take with them. I'm hoping that people sometimes, the blogs and stuff that I post, I'm hoping they're printing it out and keeping it as a reference, at some points. That's what I'm thinking about when I'm actually writing it. And you can ask John, it takes me forever to write anything. I mean, I was reading something from Jim Ziegler last night, and he said that he spent 9 hours researching it, for that one article that he was writing. And I mean, it was a great article, but and it wasn't 100 pages long either. But he spent 9 hours compiling all the information, doing all the research, to write that article. So you can't just expect to, my opinion, you can't just go out there and post anything. I do think that you would need to do your research to some degree before you go out there and start just posting anything and everything.
I have one more thing. Reciprocity. You have to be able to give something back to the people of value. With the car industry, there's 4 seasons, and if you're in an area where there's 4 seasons, you can talk about tune-ups and being prepared for the winter this time of year. Because a lot of people forget to do those things. Checking maintenance on the car, just giving little tips, I think people appreciate on social media. So I mean, things like that, and time right now. You got Thanksgiving, you got Veterans Day coming up, you got Christmas coming up, New Year coming up. There's a lot of positive things I think dealerships can do and give back to the community one way or the other, which doesn't cost that much money.
Absolutely.
Yeah, my mom could use some of those maintenance reminders.
Yeah, and that stuff helps, and it makes people. You can do that. You can do that in a newsletter. You can do that in a blog. You can do that on Facebook. You can do it on Twitter. If you've got the followers. Is there any maybe some helpful hints to getting more followers on Twitter or more likes on a Facebook page? I mean, we could actually use a few more likes ourselves. So.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if for Facebook, I mean, there are some ways. I mean, now if you want to go the paid route, Facebook ads, they tend, if you know what you're doing, they tend to do well. I haven't really dove into that, so I don't really know much about that. But I do know getting likes via that way, it does work out if you know what you're doing. But I mean, it all comes back to just having a conversation and posting stuff of value. And if you focus on those two things, you will gain followers and you will gain likers.
Yeah, I'm very conscious of, I don't have 4,000 friends or 50,000 friends or what, I don't know what the Facebook max is with 5,000 or something like that. But I've got like maybe 600 or 700 friends, but of those 600 or 700, I can tell you that for the most part, I know who they are or I've heard of them. I don't have people on there that are just, on there just because I said, okay, accept it. I don't accept everybody. Do you think the quality of the people that you have on your list makes a difference? Should you be aware of that?
Yeah, I think in a lot of cases, quality is better than quantity. I mean, it's great to. It would be great to have like 100,000 Twitter followers, but if only 1,000 of those are actual quality that actually consistently engage with you or check out your content, then that's not nearly as good as just having 1,000 or 2,000 followers that are really good quality.
Right, and how it seems like to me how Twitter works. It's kind of like. You follow me, I'll follow you kind of deal. And I don't know, I mean, I wouldn't obviously want to have, I don't know if I could deal with 1,000 followers, maybe. But I don't know that I could follow 1,000 people either. I mean, I'm following maybe 200 or something right now. And, maybe closer to 3. But I can open up my Twitter thing, and I mean, it just almost, I can't even imagine following 10,000 people or something. I mean, it would almost be like a steady, just a waterfall. You couldn't. Well,
that's the thing. When you're following that many people, you can't keep up with everything. It's just, auto following someone just because they followed you. It's really just a way for a lot of people, it's just a way of being nice. But it's really of no value because you're not seeing anything they post. So it's pretty much just lost.
Yeah, so, I mean, who do you follow? I mean, what do you follow? Everybody that follows you? I mean, is that how it works? I'm asking this for myself, because I want to get a little education here, but I'm sure other people might feel the same.
Yeah, for me, I do not auto-follow everyone. I only follow people that, if they're interesting or if what they're posting is of value to me. If not, then I don't follow them.
And do you? I've seen other things where people, if they unfollow, if somebody unfollows you, do you unfollow them? Kind of thing. And I guess it kind of. I've never understood that. I'm like you. I want to follow whoever's interesting and whoever I want to see content from and whoever I think I might be able to interact with. Because, I do the direct message thing through Twitter probably more than, posting or anything like that just because people contact me on there. But it just doesn't make sense to me to follow somebody just to be following them. I want to follow because I want to see their content.
Right.
Do you guys feel the same way?
Yes, I do.
And I think too, we live in a very sensitive culture. I mean, a lot of people don't want to upset someone else, so they feel they need to, maybe follow them back because this person's following them. But, in a lot of cases, it's really not benefiting either person because chances are you're not going to see their stuff. If you're trying to follow 10, 15,000 or however many people it is, chances are you're not going to see their stuff. So, like I said, it's a lost connection, and it's really not of any value.
Right. So how important is social media to business?
So how important? I think it's very important. I mean, I came across a post earlier today, like 26 different social media stats, and 91% of online adults come across or interact with a social media platform on a daily basis. So, I mean, people are using it, and not just, certain sets of people, like in certain niches, like moms or people that are interested in cake or whatever. I mean, there's just a wide variety, just about every kind of market you can think of people using social media. So it's very important. I mean, if you know what you're doing and you know who your target audience is, you can really capitalize on it.
I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah. Do you feel that more importantly, we're talking about engagement through social media, Twitter, Facebook. More importantly, and let's talk at a dealership standpoint, for a dealer to engage. I think more importantly, now that I think about it, and I'm thinking about some very successful fan pages out there in the market. Well, I think one's got 9,000 real fans. I mean, real fans. But I think more importantly is not the dealership engaging with the customers. I think more importantly than that is the customers engaging with each other on the dealership's fan page. That's what it's all about. When you get the customers that are engaging with each other and they're communicating back and forth with each other on the dealership's fan page, I think that's what makes it powerful and successful. And whether it be, I think as adults, we'll have a friend maybe that might put something on our wall or might want to share some news about something we found out in the industry. And I think it helps us, instead of finding it or maybe looking up or not even thinking about it, for some, let's say, Tom, if you find something that's interesting out there in the market that just came out with, I want to, and you do all the time because, people come to you to market their products. I check what's going on. I check what you got going on, what's out there new in the market. So to me, I use Tom, I want to know what's going out in the market. And if it's a great product, hey, you know what? It's just interesting to know. But going back to the engagement, the most important thing I feel is on a fan page and social media is the customers communicating back and forth on a dealer's fan page. When you can get that to happen, that's when I feel they're going to sell. They sell a lot of cars.
Oh, absolutely. Social proof works wonders, and other people landing on that page will see, oh, look at these people talking about it on their page. Maybe I should join this and participate as well. So, yeah.
Well, guys, we are approaching 11 o'clock, so it actually came kind of quick tonight. Social media is something fun to talk about. So I want to first off thank Mike for joining us tonight as our featured guest. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to make it to the Auto Dealer Target Round Table. And
I appreciate you reaching out to me about it.
Have you back on, and maybe we can get is it Mr. Kreider?
I think he would love to be on here.
Yeah, I think it would be a lot of fun. Do you guys have any questions for Mike before we turn him loose?
No, Mike, but thanks though. Yeah, you gave me some good ideas and some things to think about. Yeah.
Cool. I'm glad.
And that is what we're here for. So, do you want to give out your contact information if anybody wants to contact you about maybe some social media work or anything like that?
Just simply go to my website, which is MikeStenger, STENGER.com, and you can find out all sorts of stuff about me there and get in touch with me there too.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much. Next week, our guest, I actually know our guest is going to be ahead of time, but next week our guest is going to be Jesse Biter from Dealers United. You guys may know him from being the founder of HomeNet. So anyway, it should be very exciting. I'll welcome all of you guys back to join us next week. That should be a good one to get in on. They've got a pretty interesting program that I think might just change the paradigm. So looking forward to that. But thanks again, Mike. I really appreciate you joining us tonight, and thanks to everybody else for being here. And we'll see you guys next Tuesday.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Thanks. Good night.